Okay, good morning from the National Weather Service in Raleigh. It's Nick Petro with your Hurricane Idalia briefing here, and it's 11:30 webinar here on this Tuesday, the 29th of August. And this webinar addresses impacts for Central North Carolina specifically. All right, so let's take a quick look here at the live conditions, and you can see the the big picture here and see a couple of I don't know about you, but the first thing that grabs my eye is Franklin. Wow, look at that system. Let me turn off the Hurricane Center points there. Look at that system. That's a big storm, and it's powerful. And the one thing Franklin is doing is it is sending wave energy, a tremendous amount of wave energy back toward the Carolina coastline. South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, Florida, all up and down the East Coast beaches. This is producing deadly rip currents. So my advice to folks, if you know anybody at the beach vacationing, or if anybody here had plans to go to the beach, don't go in the water. That's my best advice, because the rip currents are frequent and they're numerous. Okay, so big time rip currents next couple days, thanks to Franklin. Other than that, Franklin's going to stay away. Okay, I know here's the ladder track points for Idalia, but here are the track points for Franklin. So Franklin's going to go off to the northeast. All right, now looking at Franklin, and now we're starting to see some radar, obviously, or Idalia, I mean. Franklin, obviously, there's no radar coverage. It's out at sea. But here's Idalia, and you can see the outer rain bands lifting towards the west coast of Florida there. And let me turn off radar, and you can see that it's a big storm too, and it's forecast to rapidly strengthen here to a 2 and then a 3 before making landfall on the Big Bend area of Florida, and then tracking, forecast to track up toward Savannah and then Charleston and across the Cape Fear region. You can see each of these points tracking across those areas as a tropical storm strength. And this track point right here that I've highlighted, that's a position at 12Z Thursday, which equates to 8 a.m. Thursday. Okay, and then east of Cape Lookout by Thursday evening. All right, so that's currently what's going on. Obviously, there's still remnants of this old frontal boundary here. So, the best chance for rain today will be mainly across the western portion of the state. There could be a few showers across central North Carolina as some of the showers to our south lift north. But again, not as much rain coverage today across central North Carolina as we had yesterday. All right, so let me close this out, and let's just jump right into, let's see here, I might have to close this. Yeah, here's a couple things I thought might be worth showing. And this is a model simulation of rain and wind. Okay, so rain on the simulated radar on the left, simulated wind speed and sustained winds on the right. Same model. We're looking at one model here of, we've got hundreds of models to look at, right? Well, this is just one of literally hundreds of models. But, generally the models are converging into agreement on where Idalia will go. So, you could probably, this model's not too, it's basically pretty close to what the Hurricane Center official forecast track is showing in terms of location. And this particular model's just showing what we're likely to see. All right, so the simulation starts basically today, and you could see, as I pointed out earlier, this is 11 a.m. right now. This is 5 p.m. later today. Some rain, mainly west of the Triangle region, and then gradually moving east by 8 p.m. across the Triangle region, 11 p.m. tonight, and you can see rain from Charlotte up toward Roanoke Rapids, maybe crossing over the Sandhills region up towards the Triangle region. So yeah, there could be some light rain between now and tonight, overnight tonight. This is not Idalia rain. This is just rain that was going to happen anyway. with that existing frontal boundary system and pool of moisture that I've been talking about for the last couple of days. All right, so let's go through Wednesday. 8 a.m. Wednesday's looking nothing on radar. 11 a.m. Oh, we start to see maybe a forerunner band there at 11 a.m. And then looking down to our south by 2 p.m. tomorrow, we could see a band, a little bit better consolidated band, one of the outer bands of Idalia moving across South Carolina. By 5 p.m. tomorrow, we're starting to see some light rain showers breaking out across the state of North Carolina, not any one particular area, but just scattered. And then by 8 p.m., we could see the first pretty decent rain band lifting north across the state. I want to call your attention over to these wind speeds. I know there's not much shading here. We're on the very low end of the spectrum here. But notice in the numbers you see there, I'm trying to focus your attention there on the right map in the lower right corner. See the 22.6? That's just a readout of the wind speed. So, you could see that, winds over, let's say, Raleigh, 2.2 miles per hour, right? That's a simulation of what it would be. So suffice it to say here, the winds with this initial first band are not expected to be particularly strong or windy. Again, that's 8 p.m. tomorrow. Here's 11 p.m. tomorrow. And again, looking at the right, I don't see any notable jump in the color shading there. Here is 2 a.m. So you could see we're starting to get into some heavy downpours. Okay, so when you see heavy downpours like that repetitively, what do you think about? What's the hazard potential there? Flooding, flash flooding. Particularly in urban areas. If one of these bands, like you see in the yellow and orange, is set up and move slowly or move repetitively over the same location, what's the impact? Potential flash flooding. So we need to be mindful and careful of that. That's tomorrow night in the middle of the night. 5 a.m. I think if these bands consolidate, like what's shown on this simulation here, 8 a.m. Thursday, is not going to be a good morning to be commuting anywhere across central North Carolina. If that happens, and we see a solid band like that, it's going to be heavy rain. It's going to be flash flooding. It's just going to be a mess Thursday morning. Okay. Now let's take a look on the right panel. These are the winds. Okay. And let me just bring to mind that these winds are sustained, a simulation of sustained. Okay. So, for example, here in Harnett County, 24.4 miles per hour sustained. If that's sustained, there's probably a gust somewhere in the mid 30s, maybe up around 40 miles per hour. Okay, so you can generally, add about 10 miles per hour on top of these values for gusts. So if it's 24 sustained, you're probably looking at 35, maybe 36 in gusts. And as I mouse around, you can see, generally speaking, everything under this band is probably going to have sustained winds somewhere in the 15 to 25 mile per hour range, with some gusts of 35, maybe even a 40 mile per hour gusts. Okay, clearly over the water, the sustained winds are a lot stronger. Okay, but even inland, as these storms wind field tends to spread out. When they move over land and weaken, the wind fields tend to spread out. So that's a concern. Now, what's a 40 mile per hour gust going to do? Well, it'll knock down trees that are weak, that are dead, that are dying, rotted trees that may have started to lean over in the last storm and didn't quite come down all the way. If you have any, that's why it's important. Now's a good day. Today's a good day. If you have any dead trees around your property or rotting trees that look like you could just push on them a little and then fall over. If you have anything like that around your property, around your school, around your business, today'd be a good day to take those down if you have the ability to do so, right? That's how you prepare. That's one of the things you could do to prepare for the hurricane season, is remove weak, dying, leaning trees from around your property. Because, a 40 mile per hour gust isn't going to blow over a sturdy, strong tree, but it sure will blow over a dead tree. Or a weakened tree. All right. So anyway, that's 8 a.m. Thursday. What a mess for the commute. 11 a.m. this time on Thursday, still kind of a mess. Winds are about the same, 15 to 25 sustained, gust 35. Now look at that. It's continuing. On 2 p.m. Thursday, that band just sits there. If that happens again, we're looking at, pretty decent risk for flash flooding. I mean, all across central North Carolina. All right. And then as we get to 5 p.m. Thursday it's just a mess, but the mess lifts a little bit further north towards the Virginia border, and so too do these wind gusts here. You know, the wind gusts will be kind of centered around along and east of the triangle region. Again, it's worth pointing out as I mouse over down here off the water, obviously the winds will be much stronger over the water. 8 p.m. Thursday, we start to finally see that heavier band lifting out. And then by 11 p.m. Thursday, it's along and east of I-95. One thing I want to point out, look how the winds are sort of consolidating around I-95 right here. I think during this period of time, and let me back up one time, 8 p.m., you see it right there at 8 p.m. Look at that, Johnston County, 24.3 miles per hour right over Smithfield, I-95. Harnett County, Cumberland County, Wilson County, Nash, Edgecombe, you know, or even all the way up to Halifax County, you know, we're talking a little pocket of enhanced winds there that I'm slightly concerned about along the I-95 corridor, that there could be some, you know, more enhanced down trees. We've seen this before in prior storms where away from the center in the band, you know, displaced from the center, you know, when the winds spread out due to the weakening of the storm, we tend to see a little increase in wind speed. That could set up over the I-95 corridor late on Thursday. Okay, and then it begins to move east by Thursday evening, Thursday night, into Friday morning. Still kind of gusty from the north. That's a, you know, north wind, low ceilings, clouds, you know, even some foggy, some mist, kind of a mess overnight into Friday morning. And then by daybreak Friday, it finally begins to exit. Okay, exiting the area, at least central North Carolina anyway. And that's about as far as this particular simulation goes. Okay, so improving conditions on Friday, still kind of messy east of I-95 Friday morning. So for those listening east of I-95, you're still under the gun. And look, I know it's off the screen, but look at the wind direction. The arrows are pointing to the south, from north to south. So I suspect there'll probably be some surge issues in the Pamlico Sound down East Carteret County. You know, when the water from the Pamlico Sound kind of piles up on the southern end of that's going to be kind of interesting. If you have interests along down East Carteret County or anywhere along the Neuse River, mouth of the Neuse River, southern Pamlico Sound, definitely check our friends out at weather.gov/Newport, Morehead City, weather.gov/MHX for further details about any surge issues or wind issues and rain issues closer to the coast. If you have interest down in the southeast coast, check out weather.gov/Wilmington. And if you have interest along the northeast coast, up near the Virginia border, it's weather.gov/Wakefield or weather.gov/AKQ. All right, so that's how we expect it to play out. Back to the slides. Whoops, wrong screen. Stand by. There we go. Let's get back to our slides. All right, so kind of summarizing the hazards and impacts. I pretty much laid all this out as I did a few moments ago. I will point out the risk for tornadoes will be mainly limited to areas southeast of a line from Laurinburg to Fayetteville to Goldsboro. Okay, and that will be late Wednesday afternoon through Thursday afternoon. Okay, wouldn't be surprised to see a tornado watch across eastern North Carolina and that sort of thing. You know, again, 2 to 5 inches of rain, highest totals along and southeast of a line from Charlotte to Roanoke Rapids. Okay, so if you can envision Charlotte to Roanoke Rapids, south and east of there, that's where the heaviest rain is going to be. Okay, and I already pointed out the gusts to 25 to 40 miles per hour. All right, so this slide, a lot of folks have commented that they really like this because it shows a sort of a timeline. So wind will pick up Wednesday night and be the worst during the day and night Thursday, finally improving Friday morning. The worst of the heavy rain and flash flooding appears to be Wednesday night and Thursday during the daytime, with everything gradually shifting east by Friday morning. If there is any river flooding, and again, will 2 to 5 inches of rain cause river flooding? It'll definitely cause rises on the local rivers, but I just don't think that's going to be enough to cause any substantial flooding on, you know, the Tar, the Neuse, the Cape Fear Basin. You know, if we get more than 5, well, then maybe, you know, obviously that'll have to be reevaluated. And places that get 6 or 8 inches of rain near the coast, yeah, clearly there's going to be issues along the lower basins, like for example, the Northeast Cape Fear might have some minor flooding, perhaps. You know, that sort of thing. As you go further east, you know, that's where the heavier rain is going to be. But if there is flooding, we expect it to be fairly minor. River flooding, that is. We expect it to be fairly minor. and maybe starting during the day or night Thursday and lingering through the weekend. I think the worst flooding is going to be a flash flood type situation where urban, low-lying, poor drainage areas where it develops quickly and then diminishes quickly. All right, and then as I mentioned, if there's tornadoes, probably tomorrow night, you know, that sort of thing. I don't think tornadoes is going to be a big deal for this event. All right, so let's see, what haven't we covered? Let's see. One last thing I think I'll point out, if you go to weather.gov/Raleigh, you can download our briefing slides that I was just showing you. There's a banner if you're not getting it via our email list. Right here, this big banner right at the top of weather.gov/Raleigh, you could click read more and download our slides. And that's mainly for folks who are watching this recording on YouTube. If you want the slides, that's one way to get them. Also be sure to check out our tropical page, because that's kind of a one-stop shop for, you know, anything tropical related, and it takes a moment to load, but again, here's another location where you can download those slides. Here's the outlook as we look further into the future. Active storms are all spelled out right here on this tab. Threats and impacts, these are nice graphics because it color codes where the worst of each hazard will be. So storm surge threat, you know, obviously along the coast, flooding rain threat, tornado threat. You could see tornado threat is limited mainly towards southeast North Carolina. The last thing I want to point out, if you go to, I don't know that we have a link for it, but if you go on our main page, but if you go to weather.gov/RAH/NC, then we have some nice North Carolina maps. And I will point out, if you click the precipitation tab and you click on 3-day total, you can see this is our forecast for rainfall totals for the next 3 days, which would encompass, you know, most, if not all of, or at least a big chunk of Idalia's impacts. Okay. All right, and obviously we're always looking at these and tweaking them as new data comes in and making adjustments as needed. So anyway, definitely staying tuned, and we'll be doing these briefings like this, same time, same place, tomorrow at 11:30. If things look like it's going to trend worse, we may add another one impromptu, but you'll get the notifications by email. So, all right, so with that, I think we'll wrap up our briefing here for Central North Carolina with Idalia's impacts. And again, we'll be back here same time, same place on Wednesday, 11:30.